George Santos is in talks over a plea deal for his federal charges, including wire fraud and falsifying records. Briella Tomassetti joins us now with details as Santos heads back to court today. Briella, what can you tell us?
Yeah, Tashani, it's a story that keeps on giving. George Santos is currently set to go on trial September 9th of 2024, but in a court letter filed just yesterday, prosecutors asked the judge to move that trial date up to May or June of next year. They say a delay would outweigh the best interests of the public and the defendant. A plea deal would avert that trial entirely and spare constituents from more and more weeks, maybe even months, who knows, of scandalous Santos-plagued headlines. Disgraced former Congressman George Santos will be back in an all-too-familiar setting this morning, a Suffolk County courtroom. Santos, who was expelled from Congress earlier this month in the wake of a scathing House Ethics Committee report, is scheduled to appear at a 10:30 status conference. He's been indicted on 23 counts, including wire fraud, identity theft, falsification of records, and credit card fraud, and has pleaded not guilty to all of them. Santos is currently scheduled to go on trial next September, but is now in talks with federal prosecutors to reach a plea deal. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Brooklyn wrote this letter to U.S. District Judge Joanna Siebert. It reads in part, the parties are presently engaged in plea negotiations with the goal of resolving this matter without the need for a trial, and that the parties wish to continue those negotiations over the next 30 days.
In light of the expulsion of the gentleman from New York, Mr. Santos, the whole number of the House is now 434.
The House voted to expel Santos on December 1st after fellow members of Congress learned that the New York Republican used campaign money on personal spending splurges at designer stores, lavish resorts, and even on Botox and OnlyFans. Santos got the boot less than a year after being elected to public office and is only the sixth lawmaker in history to be ousted from the chamber. A special election to fill his seat has been set for February 13th. Democrats have announced Tom Suozzi, the former Long Island congressman who gave up his seat to run for governor, as their pick. Suozzi was on Good Day New York just yesterday.
Our country is in so much trouble, and the politicians in Washington, you look to Washington like, what are you doing for us? I mean, everybody's just fighting with each other instead of actually solving the problem.
The Republican Party, in the meantime, has yet to announce its nominee, but has vetted more than 20 candidates, including frontrunner Mike Sapriconi. Party leaders are expected to make a final decision early next week. And as for Mr. Santos, well, he's keeping busy raking in $500 per clip on a personalized video message website Cameo, deeming himself a former congressional icon.
They can boot me out of Congress, but they can't take away my good humor.
Republican contenders also include Nassau legislator Mazi Pilip and state Senator Jack Martin. Sapriconi, in the meantime, a retired NYPD detective, was named in a now settled lawsuit involving the NYPD and a man who was wrongly imprisoned. He told our own Jody Goldberg that he never testified, never took a deposition, and was never in court for this. He also admitted to previously donating money to Suozzi, who could now become his opponent. Tashani, a lot to take in there. Back to you.
Thank you for breaking it down, Briella.